Going. All right. All right, sweet. All right, but thanks again for doing this, dude. Like I know that we're just kind of winging it last minute.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to talk about movies with you again.
Yeah, dude. I mean, essentially a bit of a hangout. Like I don't think I don't think we've really talked since I left. Like what I left in February, so 6 months.
Yeah, yeah, and our conversations are always like got to get the main life stuff out of the way, and
Yeah.
then by the end it's just like it's tough to have like a in-depth conversation about like movies and stuff. So I think this
Yeah.
is a good idea, good format.
Exactly. Well, like there aren't really many movie people that I've met out here, at least like in terms of like us, in term like that we can
Yeah,
just talk about like any any genre, any film, like any director, and kind of have like a little bit of an in-depth talk. But there's just it's always like the blockbuster, very superficial kind of sort of conversations that I have with people. It's the rarity that I ever bump into somebody and actually have something in depth with one. But like this is why like I'm trying to get this going. So I don't like have like atrophy, I guess, in terms of movie lingo, movie talk.
yeah. I feel like these days the conversations around movies are like Marvel, like Star Wars, and all the other like pop stuff, where everyone and their grandma has an opinion about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good that like to to talk about a variety of things, and films that I don't know are beyond those the popular ones these days.
It's kind of interesting when you say pop because I feel like Fincher is kind of the like kind of like this art house pop like director. Like he's done like like pretty much like every significantly cultural popular film, but like or like very pop music videos like that he's responsible for in his filmography, like working with Madonna, Justin Timberlake, Michael Jackson, like Rick Springfield. Just he's very responsible in the pop genre.
Yeah,
just that little irony.
he's good at bringing quality filmmaking to like a more popularized audience.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, I have all the respect for him. Yeah, I think yeah, there's a few directors like that, and I even like keep track of like the movies that are like that, where it's like it has some artistic merit to it, but I think anyone, even people who aren't like really into film, can still enjoy it and um, under like can appreciate the quality of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, like I think Spielberg is a lot like that, but I feel like his more recent films have just been to more like being more amenable, very digestible for a mainstream audience, and I feel like it kind of loses a bit of those like deeper film analytical undertones. I think I'm just sounding douchey right now, but I think like I feel like Fincher is still very raw, like in terms of like trying to create something with layers. Where I feel like that's still like at that high level of pop, like doing like pop mainstream stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, his most recent one, Mank, is very raw and very um, you know there's a lot to it. He's very particular, and he's definitely got his vision with it. Um, so yeah, it's still going. I like how he takes his time too with the movies he
Mm-hmm.
makes. Like he doesn't rush it. If he has something that's personal to him that he likes, like Mank, I think it was his father that like wrote the screenplay, I think, for
Yeah,
it. Made
yeah,
it.
Jack Fincher. Like, yeah. So I think it was just kind of like a posthumous homage to his dad to get it made.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it's respectable, but it's just I would say probably the only Fincher film I haven't seen outside of Alien 3 is Alien 3, but I think this I'm going to consider that the worst, even though I haven't seen it. But I consider this maybe his third worst film, Mank, because I didn't really like click with me. I wouldn't really feel like the emotional stakes of it, and I feel like it tried to like capture a lot of the quickness from like Aaron Sorkin, like from The Social Network, but I just didn't feel as gripped with that. I didn't really remember any of the characters besides like Gary Oldman being Mank. Like, of course, there's like Orson Welles, but just he was in it for like 2 seconds, and then like Amanda Seyfried, but like there's not really much. And you could tell that he was kind of going for a bit of that walk and talk kind of slightly presentational style a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I had the same reaction. I didn't really get like emotionally into it. I think it was just there to appreciate the, the spectacle of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know. I still think, yeah, it seems like it's something that for people who are really interested in that maybe like time period of Hollywood, or even that story specifically, like, I mean, I don't think he was making it for this one particularly for like a wide, generalized audience. He was making it for people who are interested in that, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's on Netflix, so anyone else can hop on and watch it if they want.
Exactly. And like, to be quite honest, it's still cool that like, someone of his stature can make a black and white film and still get like, in like studio interest in it, or like Netflix streaming services, because the only other director recently that's been able to do that is Cuarón with Roma.
Yeah.
So just like it's just a small group of people that could be able to make a black and white movie at that epic scale. But
Well,
to get oh, sorry, go ahead, man.
last piece that I have to bring up, just because you mentioned the black and white, another fantastic black and white movie is a personal top 5 of mine, Francis Ha by Noah Baumbach. Um, and that's earlier. I think that was like 2012, 2013, but
Mm-hmm.
great black and white movie.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Now, I'm
So
curious.
yeah, just had to throw that in.
Yeah, dude, of course.
Nothing
It
else
is
to
a
say
good.
about that.
Yeah, it's a good movie. So I'm curious, man. So what was your first Fincher film? Like, do you remember?
I went through a Fincher phase in college. And also I should preface everything by I would consider I haven't completely seen everything by him. I've like his I haven't seen Panic Room or The Game or even Alien 3. So I'd say
Mhm.
those 3 are kind of ones that I still need to see. Oh, and Benjamin Button. I was so close to watching Benjamin Button, but for some reason the runtime always like deters me. So I got
It's
to see
weird
that too.
it's weird how some movies do that, because if it's like a 2.5 hour Tarantino film, Pulp Fiction, I'm totally game. But when it comes to 2.5 hours of Benjamin Button, I'm just like, eh. Like there, it's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's something you have to like mentally prepare for. And sometimes you're ready, sometimes you're not. And unfortunately, the times when I was going to watch Benjamin Button, I just wasn't mentally ready to take the hike.
Yeah.
But we'll do it. I'll do it eventually.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I can't remember. I actually can't remember. I watched Seven and Zodiac pretty close together. Like I said, in college, I went through a Fincher phase. So I probably watched them, within a week or 2 of each other. So those 2 were like the first introductions to Fincher for me. What about you?
So I think I've mentioned this to you already, but my first Fincher, well, I didn't even know who the director was Zodiac. And I didn't see it in the cinema, but I got it on home video, and then like from Blockbuster. And I'm actually surprised I was able to get it. Like, I don't know if my mom really knew what movies if I was even allowed to really watch this movie. But I remember getting that with Ghost Rider, the Nicolas Cage film. So I ended up
Mhm.
watching those movies in a double feature. So very strange. But I ended up watching it though in the basement of with this really nice theater. And I knew the movie was a little bit too mature for me, but I knew I watched something really good. Like, it was just one of those things, like when you're young, you don't really know what you like or what you don't like when you're really young. But when you start getting older, you can at least appreciate something that's good or bad. You just don't know what you like. I, at least at that time, knew I watched something good. that like, okay, like I didn't quite get everything that was in it, but like I was still like kind of interested in like, okay, what this whole serial killer thing was about. But it was just a movie that stuck with me through the years. And I remember going back to it like I think in the later part of high school and college. And it still blows me away every time because I get super obsessed with that film to the point I even start looking for any sort of updates on the Zodiac or like, oh, did anybody solve the ciphers yet?
Yeah, yeah. That movie. Well, I'd say I combine Zodiac and Seven. Like they both gave. I think they were my psychological thriller phase.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it because, I mean, you know me, I'm not much of a horror person, but I
Okay,
like
dude.
a good psychological thriller. Um, because it like you get the same like adrenaline and excitement, edge of your seat kind of feeling. And you also get a feeling of like when it's done, like being a little like, what is this world
Like
kind of feeling,
unset, well,
but
like
you
I
don't
guess
get the jump
unsettled.
scares.
Yeah, like this kind of
Yeah,
unsettled
unsettled,
tension.
like yeah, exactly. And like, I don't know, just like, I mean, I guess with Zodiac in particular, like, what is this world in which people do that? Like, it's kind of crazy. Um,
Mhm.
it gets you into more to more like philosophical questions about how strange our world is. Um, but yeah, I think he's definitely made some of the best psychological thrillers I've seen, and
Mhm.
definitely like a good one gets you thinking about the philosophical stuff.
Yeah, like and I think like Zodiac and Seven are really good like double features. Like okay, one's about a yeah like a real life killer, and then one's about a fictionalized killer. But now you kind of have to throw it in as a trilogy now with Mindhunter. So because it's very much in that kind of same like serial killer sort of like pseudo franchise that he's built. Even you could throw in the girl with the dragon tattoo is even like in that
Yeah,
maybe like like his trilogy of cinema with serial killers.
yeah, yeah. I could see that. What's his obsession with serial killers?
I don't know. I mean, I think he just kind of got hooked on it from Seven, and he just. I think it's just one of those things where he gets a blank check for just like, yeah, like I've got something dark right here. It's about solving serial killers, but look at my look at my experience. Like, no, look at my record. So
The
he's batting,
studios are like, you had me at dark.
yeah. I mean, he's batting 1,000 like in that genre. So and he's got an audience.
Yeah, how does he kill it from the get-go? Like he makes he makes an absolute classic from the get-go and like maintains it.
Well, I wouldn't say
It's
from the get go. Like
it's pretty
Alien 3 was
cool.
a shit
I don't
show.
know.
Like, have you ever looked at like any of the
See, this
production
is where
problems
my
there?
incomplete filmography comes in.
Yeah. Again, I haven't seen Alien
I
3.
don't know.
Yeah. And, like that's the only one I
So
haven't
what, do
seen.
you know about the production problems?
Uh not to an extent amount, like at a very superficial level. Sorry, am I going in and out a little bit?
A little bit, but it's still it's I can still understand you and everything.
All right, sorry, dude. But yeah, I haven't looked into too much of these specific problems, but like apparently there was just a lot of studio interference, and it was essentially like and Fincher, like think about it, he I think was like 29, 30, and you have the opportunity to direct Alien 3 with the preceding two films being considered classics, like Ridley Scott, James Cameron, and then you're this like hotshot music
Yeah,
video
yeah.
director, and then you're getting the opportunity to make Alien 3, like potentially another classic in sci-fi. But apparently, like he was getting a lot of studio interference in terms of like film direction. He was given an incomplete script when production started, and then like just logistical contract stuff with like Sigourney Weaver and like some of the other actors just trying like had like issues throughout the film, and then he ended up getting fired and then brought back on, and just it was just a nightmare production apparently. And then he honestly thought he honestly thought he was just done making films. He thought he was just going to be stuck to making commercials and music videos.
Yeah, I do remember like interviews with him saying, I guess he was talking about Alien 3, but I do remember him like talking about his like I guess like a rocky start in how he and in his feature like career, and how like, you know, the studio, I know he had issues with studio, and um like going big too soon was a big thing for him, I think.
Mhm.
um and I think I like one of the things about hearing you say that about Alien 3, it kind of makes sense for how well he became known as like a very meticulous like researcher and preparer. Um, like it's kind of it seems like a motivation for how he became known as someone who does a lot of pre-work before the shoot.
Mhm. Well, like he's fucking nuts. Like, what is it? The Fincher 50 is
Yeah.
his takes, but I think that's why what makes him so admirable because a little fact of trivia is that like those journals that are in Seven by John Doe, apparently
Hmm.
like out of the books that were written, there's like 10,000 pages that like production designers had to like go through and just like scribble in whatever came to mind. And then it was just there for like set decoration, but then they were just like, we have all these books that like we didn't use, like how can we use these more? And Fincher just threw it into the title sequence, the opening title sequence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, that's insane. And even like I remember I watched like a YouTube video. It was him preparing Jesse Eisenberg along with Aaron Sorkin for The Social Network. And like they had, it was just this long conversation about of them like literally dissecting word by word this, like a particular scene. I think it I guess it was the opening scene with Rooney Mara,
Mhm.
but it may not have been. It may have been another scene. But the point is like they went, I mean, with Aaron Sorkin, they went like line by line. This is what he means. This is his intent. You know, this is what he's feeling. And like, I don't know. I don't know how common that is in Hollywood for people to go that in depth about like a character, like a particular scene for a character. But I don't know. It opened my eyes up a lot, and how thorough he was.
Mhm.
And like you're when you're coming to set, you're coming prepared, and that's one of
Yeah.
the big things I've learned from him. Even we were talking earlier, helping out with a like a friend shoot before. Like he's one of those that I kind of look to as an example of someone who's like, all right, this is you. I mean, I'm someone who likes to be prepared, and so he seems like someone who likes to be prepared. So I like to look up to him in that respect, being like, yeah, I mean, if you want, you can really delve into stuff like before, like a lot before you get to set, and I think that's okay. And I think that's I don't know. I think for a certain type of person, I think that helps a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think I remember like the scenes that you're talking about. Like maybe it was the opening scene or like when he was in the courtroom. But he is a director that like he needs every single subtext like out. Like there's no questions. Like he wants to know every single word of subtext that it's like pulled out in the script. And like he'll even like point out certain moments in the film where it's like, okay, this is the thesis of the film, like this line right here. And it's
Mm.
specifically in The Social Network when Justin Timberlake is saying like this is our time. He basically was going on saying like this line is the thesis when he's like walking it through with both Eisenberg's Sorkin and Justin Timberlake. So he does have that kind of vision. And the thing is that that's not a very in the grand scheme of things, it's a very short movie. It's 2 hours, but the script is like
Yeah.
100, I think 50, 60 pages. It's a fairly long script, but he does the same thing in Zodiac. He has everybody say their lines actually like really quick. Like there's not much. His linger is with his editing, but with his dialogue, they actually say their lines fairly rapidly. So I have a
Hmm.
lot of admiration for Fincher for having that kind of ability to be able to really like get his actors to hammer through the lines like that.
It's
But
very economic.
mhm. And I feel like it also serves well because I feel like a lot of his films, since Well, like I think particularly the Social Network works because that's essentially the Sorkin style. It's just like really rapid fire dialogue, and I think that's carried over with both Mindhunter and House of Cards.
Yeah, real quick, I have to. I realized that my answer to your earlier question was technically incorrect about my first Fincher movie, because I guess I had a very similar experience, because The Social Network, I remember seeing that in theaters, and I remember seeing that in theaters when when it came out in eighth grade, before I knew who Fincher was. So I guess I had the same experience seeing one of his movies without knowing anything, and then it took until Zodiac and Seven for me to really like understand who he was in his movies. So yeah, just wanted to go back real quick and and actually answer that question, because it was The Social Network was the first thing that I saw.
Mhm.
And then yeah, I saw like Mindhunter. I saw like half the first season, and then haven't picked it back up. But obviously, I guess House of Cards I've seen, um, and I
I've
like
al-
how,
Mhm.
what and what I know you've seen Mindhunter, right? Have you seen House of Cards?
Well, I've only seen like up to season 4. I've never seen the final season where Spacey's off and then Greg Kinnear comes in. I haven't seen that season, but I know you told me that like it's kind of forgettable. It's not great. Like,
Yeah,
but I
you
don't
don't
know.
need to
Yeah,
watch it.
yeah. But I have watched the seasons where like Fincher is like basically like in like full command. Like so, like the first 2 seasons is where like he was involved in the show. After that, he was pretty much gone.
I watched it again, I guess relatively recently. I don't know if you call this relatively recently, back in 2020, maybe the fall time. Um, um, which isn't relatively recently, it's almost a year ago. Um, I was watching it again, and I actually noticed in the production like quality a significant like line when he left and like a few other people left, where it lacked the Fincher look, with the bleak color palette, the I don't know, the very angled um like shot compositions, like, and where everything's very symmetrical, and I don't know. Yeah, I think you know what I mean what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's definitely a line that where House of Cards lost that. I don't know, how's Mindhunter done in terms of keeping up the Fincher style.
I mean, pretty much throughout because he's been like heavily involved in both those 2 seasons because he's directed, I think, 4 of the 9 episodes in the first season, I think 4 of the 8. So,
Mm,
and the only reason he hasn't directed all of them because it would just be too much on his shoulders. So he had to delegate it. But I think it was just in terms of like House of Cards. I think he only did like a handful of episodes, but like Mindhunter has
yeah,
been definitely more of his baby in terms of like a Netflix series. And it's just one of those things like right now it's kind of in production limbo because it's not quite getting the viewership that it needs for its third season. But
sorry.
yeah, because it's a great show. It's a great show, but it's
Yeah,
just not. But it's one of those things like it's expensive. While it's critically acclaimed, there's just not quite enough viewership, especially when you have something like Stranger Things like on Netflix, where we want to continue the show, but like just it's not quite getting the same amount of viewership that we need it to be. But Fincher's still at that stage in his career where like he can make whatever he wants. Like, and plus that's something that's very time consuming. That's like Mindhunter, any season that he does, it's going to take a year and a half to 2 years. So I think he has plenty of other things he could do to fill that time.
yeah. I don't know. Has he does he express interest in doing other things beyond like directing, whether it's TV or movies?
So I don't know. Like well, his wife is actually a producer. Like she's like produced many of his films, but I don't think he has like a significant amount. I don't know what his interests are outside of trying to just like outside of just directing film and television. But I think just he does put on a pretty heavy workload because like a show like Mindhunter and Mank, he probably shot like pretty close together because one came right after the other essentially. like a full
Hmm.
season of Mindhunter season 2, then the following year Mank. So it's not really much free time. I think just right now he's not going to be able to release anything until 2023 because of COVID.
Hmm.
But like
Yeah.
but he also took a pretty long break though between feature films. Like it was 2020 for Mank and then 2014 for Gone Girl.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So he I guess and that was his like TV phase when he got into that stuff. So
Oh,
I
but
wonder what he'd be like as a writer.
so I think he probably does get involved in writing, but like I don't think he actually like is like credited. I think he probably does like some uncredited rewrites, but I think he actually enjoys working closely with writers rather than doing the actual physical writing. If that makes
Yeah, and
sense.
I could I could tell that in that video I referenced earlier with Aaron Sorkin, Jesse Eisenberg, like
Mhm.
he may not be credited as it, but like you can tell he's a writer. He's got a writer's mind as well.
Yeah.
Like he was like, I remember there were parts where he was like overruling Sorkin on things.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I believe it.
Did you know that Aaron Sorkin directed one shot in The Social Network, a single shot? Did you ever hear this?
I don't know. Let me see.
I don't know if you'll get this though, like because it's a pretty insignificant shot.
Hmm. Okay, tell me.
Okay, well, he does have a scene like as an acting in the scene, but that's not the shot that he directed. So, there was like a 2 second shot that Fincher allowed Sorkin to direct, and it was just people just watching the television screen, like just like I'm sure you might have the image in your head. It's just like I think it's just these group of people like cameras behind, and they're just watching television screen. That's it. In The Social Network, it's 2 seconds. And Fincher totally tricked Sorkin. He said, "Hey, I got to go pick up my kids, so I'm gonna leave. You take care of this." And he just left. And then Sorkin apparently did like 1 or 2 takes. And again, it's just a 2 second scene, no dialogue, no stars are in it. It's just like extras watching the television screen. He did 2 takes and you're like, okay, I guess that's a wrap. And then one of the ADs came up to Sorkin and just said, "We got to do more takes because this is Fincher. Like I'm gonna get shit for this if I don't do this." So I think they just did a couple BS takes to be like, okay, we have enough to not get fired. So
That's hilarious. I imagine being Aaron Sorkin in that position after after a shoot where you're like watching how he works and then be like, okay, no, you do it.
yeah. But like here's the thing, Sorkin, like he's been a fairly good director. Like I'm not big in Molly's Game. I think it's an adequately like good film. But I think the Trial of the Chicago 7 was a really, really awesome movie. That was a really good film.
Yeah, I know you've mentioned that a lot as a really good one of recent
Mhm.
times. So
Mhm.
I have to check that one out.
Yeah, please do. And Sacha Baron Cohen knocks it out of the park. Like he's a scene stealer.
Oh, I believe that
Yeah. So
for
sorry.
sure.
Now going back to Fincher. So there was just always been this little bit piece of trivia that I loved, and I have not been able to find this video since I've heard it. So did you know that he was like a visual effects artist at ILM, like one of his first
Mm-mm,
jobs?
mm-mm.
So early in his career, he was like in his late teens, like I think very early 20s. He was like working effects for ILM. I think it was like right out of high school, and he's actually got a credit in Return of the Jedi. And from what I remember, he was able to get this job, be able to get this gig on Star Wars, is that he brought up an idea, like an effect called slow shutter Steadicam. And
Okay.
so like you know how long exposures work? Like, if you like speed it up, it just looks very like more seamless. It's not like rigid in terms of frame rate.
Yep.
Yeah. So he was like talking to like one of his managers about the effect, and his manager was just surprised that like he knew what the effect was. Like I don't because the effect ended up being in that film as like the effect. I think it was where Leia and the stormtroopers were on speeders through Endor, and it's kind of
Okay.
like this POV with the speeders. So apparently how they got that shot was like they had a steady cam and just kind of like slowly just like, move throughout this forest left and right. And then they just sped it up. So that was the effect. And
Wow.
while Fincher, I don't think like came up with the effect for it in terms of like it being in the film, I think it's the fact that he referenced it, like, is what got him like on that film, like that got him that
He's,
credit. So,
wow.
and
So
it's
he
just the
did
fact that he was like, because he was just so young and like to kind of have that mind that like you're kind of like, well, like you're well versed in terms of thinking, like, like he was able to get on that film.
it showed he knew his stuff.
Yeah. So it was an advanced technique at the time that like someone his age probably shouldn't have known.
That's really cool.
Mhm.
That's a really cool fact. Yeah. It's because it's a I would say it's a pretty classic image in the
Mhm.
in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think that's really cool that he contributed to that.
Yeah. I don't
Huh.
know if I don't think it was his idea, but it was the fact that like he knew of it that got him on the
Hey,
set. Like,
that's another lesson though. Be prepared, know your stuff.
yeah. So
All sorts of lessons from this guy.
yeah, I know for real. So keep going. So have you ever seen any of his commercials that he's made? Like, did you know that he like started a production company with like Zack Snyder and Spike Jonze? Have you ever seen any of his commercials?
Yeah, I have. Didn't he do the really did he do the really famous Apple commercial?
No, that
Uh,
the 1984 one.
yeah, 1984. Was
That was
that not
Ridley
him?
Scott.
Ah, shoot. Okay.
Yeah.
What are the ones that he's done? Because I know I have seen some.
Okay, so I think there's only like one or two that I remember off the top of my head. So the one is probably the more iconic one. It's where like he's doing this PSA with a fetus smoking a cigarette.
Oh, I have. Yep.
Yeah, so like that was like a pretty popular PSA one. The only other one I can think of right now is he did a 2006 or 2005 commercial with like Brad Pitt, and it was just like very like in term, I can't remember what the commercial was for. Like it might have been for Coke, Sprite, whatever, but like it was him kind of running through the streets, but it looked very much like Fight Club and Seven in the way it was kind of like the very cinematic urban streets, and then like the kind of green yellow sort of palette. So if you ever have a chance, and again it's Brad Pitt, like Fincher, like
Yeah,
always
of
a
course.
classic.
Didn't he do? I think I. This is like I'm only gonna give like an image because I don't remember the full commercial, or maybe I do remember the full commercial. Didn't he do like some like apparel commercial like Nike or something with and I remember one image was the guy, but he had he was spotted throughout his whole body, and it was and like it I remember I just remember maybe it was him like running through a field. It was like a football player like running through the field, and in the end it's like a really close up of his sweat. Could have been a Gatorade commercial, I don't know. But like there's an image of him like where his skin is like spotted, I guess.
Is it maybe because I'm now trying to think of it because I'm starting to think there's another commercial, but it's just very VFX heavy, like very much in like a Fight Club sort of like CGI kind of like long shots that like where the objects are clearly CGI like close-ups. I don't know. It was something like that. There was another commercial around the 2000s like that.
Yeah. Now I'm looking him up. But obviously CGI you have to think or you have to consider David Fincher as a possible director.
Yeah, I know I get it. But
Yeah, it does look like he did a bunch of Nike commercials though.
mhm. Yeah, I don't remember seeing many of his Nike commercials though. Like, can you like? Do you want to play one? Do you want to share a screen for a sec?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
can show obviously just the ones that are popping up.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. All right. How do I share a screen?
Do you have access? I can make you a host real quick.
Oh, I think you need to do that.
All right, give me a sec. You might just have to change it back to me later, but yeah, go for it.
Yep.
There should be a share screen button at the bottom.
Yep, I see it.
Gotcha. the pros of teaching. I know where all these Zoom button things are, teaching online.
Yeah, he's a definitely, if you get into him, you definitely have to oh, my preferences aren't set. I would have to restart the Zoom call to change them.
Bob
So I can't share
Saget.
my screen right now.
Bob Saget.
Yeah, Bob Saget. What a shame. But I guess this is our homework. We can watch some David Fincher commercials after this.
Yeah, it's all good. What about his music videos? Like, have you ever seen any of his? Like, or do you know which one that he directed?
Um, I don't know. I've probably seen him. I haven't really. I don't really follow his. I don't really follow like things him by name and stuff when it comes to music videos.
That's fair.
I know he did the Justin Timberlake one, right? Black and
That's
White or something.
yeah, Suit and Tie. That's probably like in my top 5 favorite music videos of all time.
I just remember it being a jam. It was
Mhm.
like not just the song, but like the whole thing. It was quite a spectacle.
Yeah. Well, like I've always been thinking about that music video, and it was just one of those. It was just a music video, and the song just like very much fit Fincher's style. Like the
Yeah.
well, like I mean, the song in itself was talking about being like groomed and like polished, and when you're and like and like I guess neat and like put together, and that's very much Fincher. Like he's very anti like being like using handheld or like not using anything smooth like it's just the fact that he was the perfect like sort of polished director with that sort of back like history record like filmography to be able to
Mhm.
tackle that because I think he had like an 8-year gap in between doing Suit and Tie and some other music video. And it's even like a little wink to like the Social Network, considering he like bringing Justin Timberlake on, and then like having a Justin Timberlake song and then bringing Fincher on, I should say. But
Go ahead. Well,
I
I was
was
also gonna just interject real quick.
Mhm.
That's that what you brought up about like his camera style about very static, non-handheld is actually another thing that I feel like I've taken from him as well. Like when I think of things, I definitely prefer static, no, not non-handheld shots, um, and very smooth movements and stuff. Um, and even if like there's an option, like if you need to move it, I'd try to think of it in a way where it can be static and like set instead of
Mhm.
doing a handheld shot. So yeah, for talking about other influences from him, I feel like that's another thing I've taken from him in terms of how I look at what I like in a shot. But
Mhm.
yeah, keep going.
No, because I agree because I also just like static shots just because I'm lazy. Like I think that just is a big thing. And I think when you're when you don't quite have a budget, I feel like any sort of camera movement, like it's gonna look like amateurish if you don't have like decently if you don't have decent equipment. I'm talking about like long camera movements. I'm thinking if they're like short dollies, it's usually fine, but I think you're able to get away with a little bit more in terms of production value if you keep it static, at least in my
I
opinion.
agree with that. I agree
Yeah.
with that. Yeah, because
Mhm.
it's very easy to get into like you know amateur filmmaking tropes, I guess.
Well, I think handheld is like is a telltale sign of like amateur. Like because
Yeah.
because I feel like handheld, it's very few directors can use it right. And I feel like, if it's either static or handheld when you're an amateur filmmaker. And I just feel like if it's not a well composed static, it just looks like garbage. And then handheld, it just doesn't look right.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of using a handheld in specialized situations as opposed to throughout a film. Um, Ending of Seven, great example, handheld.
Mhm.
you know. I think handheld is overused. Um,
Eh,
definitely,
yeah,
definitely as smooth as possible, as you know, set as possible. Even if you have to rework a shot.
yeah. So I'm kind of curious what you think about this. So a lot of Fincher like shots in themselves are just kind of pieced together from different, like are just the single shot is just massed together with different shots. So I'm just wondering what you think about that. Just because it kind of feels like a false performance in some sense.
Yeah, here's my thing about that. I like it. I think and anything is fair game when it comes to film. I recently heard that Bong Joon Ho is a big proponent of that. He does that a lot in his stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's fair game. It's like maybe it's not a direct there's not a direct line to this, but I think it's in the same vein when it comes to photography as well. I think like the edit, like if you completely change a photograph in the edit, I think that's perfectly fine because the end result is some artistic piece, and that's what matters at the end. It doesn't really matter how you got there, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
and
yeah.
I would totally agree with that. I think the only thing where you can like I feel like I've ever heard anything is because of actor performance. Nobody really has a problem when it comes to environmental changes, and I feel like that's very prevalent in his films, where like he does a lot of blue screens and like or background masking. But I just always think back to like performance manipulation. I always think back to Blood Diamond. Have you ever seen that movie with
Mhm.
Okay, well, uh, I'm just gonna say the ending anyway. Well, there's a scene
Go
where
for it.
Leo, well, not really much of an ending, but anyway, there's a scene with Leo DiCaprio and Jennifer Connelly, and there's a CGI tear, and Connelly is supposed to be crying, but she's not really crying. So there's a CGI tear just raining down her face. So there's a bit there sparked some controversy, just kind of manipulating a performance sort of deal in post. And so like I was just wondering where the line is from like using the Fincher method to mask performances together and something like that. Is kind of what I was trying to
If
figure
I'm
out.
totally honest, I think the controversy is there just actors being a little bit egotistical. It's not my performance. What are you doing to my performance, man? Uh, I'm the director. The director has the final say. I'm an auteur. So you know what? I think that's just artists, their ego getting in the way a bit.
No,
But
I
that's just
I could
me.
agree with.
That's my hot take of the day.
Yeah, I agree with that. And again, like I feel like once an actor is kind of like on board the film with the director, I feel like it's now the director's hands. Like, but a quote that I always liked about Fincher, and this is actually coming from Alien 3 and is kind of carried over. He said, as a director, if it's a good film, you get too much credit. If it's a bad film, you get too much of the blame.
Mm,
Mhm.
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
It's
because because
go
it makes
ahead.
sense. No, no, no. Like it makes sense for his studio interference from Alien 3 because he was essentially just like shitted on because of like just because like his name was attached to it. Like, yeah, like it wasn't solely his fault, but like it was just other people that were involved, but he was the visionary for it. But like when you have something like the social network, he gets way too much credit.
That's a I'd agree with that take. It's like it's kind of like what makes like film weird as an art because it's not like a painting where you're the only artist and you
Mhm.
can take full credit for it or full blame for it. Um, in film, the director is the equivalent of the painter. Like they're considered the creative like authority there. But the difference is that it's so collaborative. There's so many moving pieces, so many people that there's you know there's so much that goes into it. And
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, how can it's a interesting balance, like how much do you credit to a director versus not. um does a makeup department need to get more recognition in how they contributed to the theme of a film or something. Yeah, it's interesting because of the collaborative nature of it.
Mhm. Yeah. So sorry, I want to briefly go to Seven for a moment. So did you ever hear how Fincher got the script of Seven? Have you ever heard that story?
I think you've told me this before, but let's tell me again because
Okay.
I you
Well,
probably
like,
have. I'd be interested to hear it.
yeah, so it wasn't like he was actually like it wasn't like there was actually like any crazy story with him getting the script. His agent just passed it off to him. But his agent actually sent him the first draft. Apparently there were like 13 following drafts in the Seven script. But the
Yeah.
draft that Fincher read was the end where like he found the head in the box, and then what is it, Brad Pitt? Mills, Detective Mills, ended up killing like John Doe. That was the end in the first draft, and then apparently unbeknownst to Fincher, like it changed in the 13th, 14th draft or whatever. But so when he called his agent after he read that draft, he was just like, "I want to do this film. This is great." His agent realized that he sent the wrong script. He's just like, "Oh, I sent you the wrong draft." And then Fincher was just like, "No, I want to do this one. Like, this is what I want to do." And
That's
the fact,
hilarious.
yeah, and then and even like the little things that Fincher like mentioned that attracted to him was that the detectives didn't really find the killer. The killer gave up. The killer surrendered.
Yeah.
It was just one of those little like are you like in like the detective genre that like it's not like the detectives really weren't following like the evidence to finally find the killer. Like no, the killer just surrendered and then ultimately won. So
Yeah.
mhm.
I feel like that was like a new I mean that's definitely a new take on a detective thriller kind of movie.
Mhm. And if you
That,
ever live,
that
I'm sorry, go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say I think that's a I remember you've told me that story about the scripts before. I just think that's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah. Also,
Uh,
one of my
Forget
favorite
the
little
12 or 13 other ones. This is the one.
also a little favorite nugget of mine. So I haven't listened to it in a long time, but I listened to the director's commentary on Seven with and Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman were also commentating with it. One of my favorite moments in the commentary were do you remember the first kill where it's the guy that just like died from just eating too much spaghetti or like being force fed, and like
Yeah.
his body's in the morgue just kind of up on that table.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in the audio commentary, please look this up if you can. I don't know how easy it is to find unless you have the DVD, but in the commentary, you just hear Fincher and Brad Pitt just kind of laughing at the body, like because they're happy that like the actors are looking at it like it's evidence. But Fincher was just like, okay. One thing that I love the props department did is that they gave him a huge cock because we're making fun of him the entire time. So like, if you just see like the body, he just has this huge dick. That's just like, okay, come on, we have to leave something there, like because we got him like face down and paused the whole time. We're laughing at him, just like, come on, let's help him out right there.
Give my buddy a W on something. That's hilarious. Hey, see exactly. That's not a director's choice. That's the props department right there. Uh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, but that was a good one. I know you haven't seen Panic Room, but if you really do have the chance, check it out because like it's very much, I would just say, Fincher's simplest film. I wouldn't say it's necessarily like darkly layered, like or like a very much a social commentary, but it's just a very simple thriller. It's just it stars Jodie Foster, Kristen Stewart, Forrest Whitaker, Jared Leto. Um, and it's basically Jodie Foster and Kristen Stewart. They're just this mother and daughter that move in this apartment, and Jared Leto and Forrest Whitaker and some other guy, I can't remember his name. They break into the house, and Jodie Foster and Kristen Stewart just are in this panic room, and it's basically just kind of like a cat and mouse sort of thriller. Like, okay, like are they going to get to us, or are we going to get out? Like, I shouldn't say cat and mouse, maybe more like a contained thriller. That's what I should say.
Interesting.
But very,
what a cast.
very, yeah, very good. And this is before Kristen Stewart, like Twilight and everything. And it was
Yeah.
incredibly good. It was a really good movie. check it out. But also just a side part. No Blu-ray for Panic Room. I remember I tried buying it, and then no, it's the only non-Blu-ray film of Fincher that I'm like, how's this not on Blu-ray? I can only be satisfied with 720p.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. Gotta have the best quality.
Yeah.
Huh. When was Panic Room made?
2002. So it was his films were like, yeah, Alien 3, 7, Fight Club, The Game, and then Panic Room, and then Zodiac.
Wow.
But it's a great film, dude. Please check it out. Like, and again, it's a fun, like, it's not a psych thriller. It's just like a contained thriller. It's a real easy watch. It's fun.
Yeah, let's check it out.
I know you're a scaredy cat, so like, it has no jump scares like that.
Yeah, even I mean, honestly, even so it's not even horror. I think I've told you this before. Even like psychological thrillers, like I definitely went through a Fincher phase in college, a psychological thriller phase in college, but like I'm definitely past that. Like even psychological thrillers, like I don't even see that. I'll watch freaking a Pixar movie. I like happy, like lighthearted movies. But that's to say that I won't watch a psychological thriller anymore. But I'm definitely past my phase. So yeah, I'm even more than a scaredy cat. I don't like discomfort.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call that, but I'm a discomfort kind of person.
It's all right. And if you ever have the opportunity to watch The Game as well, like that's a good movie, but try to go into it with a blank slate. I'm not going to tell you anything about it, but that's a movie that you have to go in blank. Like you try not to look up anything, but if Michael Douglas is the lead and one of the supporting actors is Sean Penn.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's a really good movie. But I can't remember, like, I remember the plot, but I'm trying to remember back, like, sort of behind the scenes details from it. And I don't remember too much, but the only thing that I do remember hearing it about is that Fincher felt that he was the wrong director for that movie. It's a good movie, but it's one film I want you to watch because I want some back and forth dialogue with it because I feel like the ending is why he might have felt that way. But again, go into it with a blank slate. I'm not going to say anything about it.
Okay. Would you recommend, have you seen Benjamin Button? Should I add that to the list?
I would say prioritize Panic Room and The Game over Benjamin Button because I think Benjamin Button is like, I felt like it was just one of those like very Oscar-y films. Like,
okay.
It was just very much like, here's the thing. I do think it was an important film in Fincher's filmography because I feel like it was the blend where he was able to kind of very much make The Social Network. It was like the perfect sort of predecessor for it because it was very much like, a very sort of, like, even though it was like a fantastical drama, I feel like that honestly kind of like perfected his kind of color palette that he used in The Social Network, that very bright yellow, like, very static, like sort of camera work that he used in The Social Network. I feel like it kind of started in Zodiac, but carried over into a more direct drama with Benjamin Button that eventually became The Social Network. So I don't think it's a bad movie, but I think it's probably one of his more weaker movies is all. And especially when you're kind of looking at him as like one of the best.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have to, okay, that's good to know. It also seems like definitely runtime wise, The Game and Panic Room are easier to mentally prepare for, they're about 2 hours each, right?
Yeah, I just rewatched The Game, I want to say about a month ago, and like, yeah, it still holds up. Like, I mean, a 20-something-year-old film, like, yeah, it still feels fresh.
Yeah, I'll watch those. I'll watch Benjamin Button too. I'll watch those three because yeah, like I said, I'm not, yeah, definitely I'm not finished with, I want to go through, his full stuff. And especially as, like I like to take things from him. So I and learn. So I think, yeah, I'll definitely get to them. I think it was the it was a very, I'd also say it was a very dramatic line when I stopped watching psychological thrillers. Like it was very, all right, I'm not watching a psychological thriller anymore. And so that's kind of why David Fincher kind of came off the list, even if these remaining ones aren't as, they're not Zodiac or Seven, but
Mhm.
that's why he came off the list and I started looking at other places. It was kind of
Yeah,
just
yeah,
an end of a chapter.
that's fair. And the game is a psychological thriller, but I wouldn't say it's nearly as dark as like say like Gone Girl or The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Seven, Fight Club. Nowhere near as dark. Like those are significantly darker. I feel like these are more direct, like simple thrillers that he was able to make.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'll have to check them out. I
Yeah.
will check them out.
So this also just came into my head. So I mentioned that like the game holds up well. Thinking about Fincher's entire filmography, his films are fairly timeless.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, freaking, Social Network, what, 11 years ago?
11 years. Seven is 26 years old. If
That's insane.
it's
Fight
still like
Club,
Fight Club is over 20 years old. It's like 20 years old, over 20 years old, 21, I think, 1999, something 98, something like that.
99, I think.
Yeah.
Part of
But
that great 99 year. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, like if his films hadn't like if it didn't age within like 5 or 10 years, they're not gonna age. Like they're still gonna hold up. So like so I feel like you can show Seven to a modern audience 10 years from now and it would still hold up. Like all those scares. And honestly, I did mention this to someone. Despite all the shit that happened in real life with Kevin Spacey, I actually feel like those things actually made Seven a better movie. Well,
The
like,
dude,
I
the
mean, think
dude's
about it.
crazy. He plays into his character. He has to, as a
I mean,
person.
seriously, like, it's because it's one of those things. Like, even though like what Kevin Spacey did in terms of like being a bad person, it's the fact that like he was basically like the worst villain possible in that movie, and just the fact that that's kind of how he echoed in real life. Not that that should happen in life, of course, but it's just the
Yeah.
fact that it did happen. I'm just like, it just makes that guy even more like despicable, like evil. I'm just like screw this guy.
Yeah. Talk about uh separating a person or an actor from their personal life. For Kevin Spacey, if he brings personal life, makes him a greater actor.
Just adds a little bit more authenticity to the performance.
Yeah, exactly. Jeez Louise. Kevin Spacey and his freaking Christmas specials on YouTube.
I
Have you,
mean,
have you,
it's an annual tradition, man. I can't wait for this.
I know, like, like what is he cooking up this year?
It's so unsettling. It's so weird. Especially this past one was super weird. Like that was just that one was so creepy.
I don't remember the past one. I've seen it, I'm sure, but what happened
I don't want to get into
again?
it too much, but like it just seemed
The
like he
past
was
one?
just yeah, sorry. I think we're lagging a little bit. Hold on just a second. But yeah, so his last one, it just he wasn't in character as like Frank Underwood. He was just trying to like act as he was like being more a man of the person, saying like I know what it's like to be isolated, sort of deal. Like he did it on his iPhone or like on video on his phone.
Uh,
It was really creepy, but don't go out of your way to watch it. But
yeah, probably won't.
all right, but moving on. So two movies we haven't really discussed yet. So we haven't really discussed The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo or Gone Girl. Have you seen either of them, or have you seen both of them?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen them. Gone Girl, like I was actually having a conversation with someone um who had read the book and said the well, first of all was like kind of so about Gone Girl. She said it was a good movie, but was just, wasn't enamored with it. And was like the it didn't live up to the book, I guess. So I don't know. I feel like I need to read the book. Like I love the story, but
Mhm.
I wonder what the book is like.
I remember buying the book, but I didn't read it.
Hmm.
But I think it was actually it's the only Fincher movie I've ever seen in theaters. I've never seen like I haven't seen The Social Network or The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo in theaters or any of these other movies in theaters. I just I've always saw them on like home video. But I think Gone Girl is quite possibly in his top five, considering like I consider like Social Network or Zodiac the number one, Fight Club seven, and then I think Gone Girl would probably be his number five.
Yeah, I
Mhm,
I I would probably agree with you there. I love Gone Girl.
mhm. I agree.
I
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just think it's a great story, great twist,
Mhm.
great unsettling feeling, you know.
I do remember like when that first act ended, like with that twist, my jaw dropped because I was just like, what the like. But I remember hearing an interview of Fincher saying what appealed to him is that it was essentially three different genres in a single story. Like each act was a different genre. Like first act, it's kind of a mystery, like where is she? Second act, it's a cat and mouse
Yeah.
thriller. And then the third act, it becomes satire, like social satire.
Mm,
So just like it feels very much like a
yeah.
Fincher thing that like you're kind of bringing into like the real world sort of social issue with like the social network. Like you're kind of bringing in like, you know, your thriller elements that you've had in like Zodiac, like who's the killer, and then like you have this kind of cat and mouse chase with like Seven as in your second act. So it just feels like it really fit him so well.
And then you end with marriage is a trap.
But honestly, I think that movie was super well casted. Like I really, really enjoyed like Rosamund Pike in that movie. Like super off, like fucking fantastic performance. And then Ben Affleck, very much played into his real life persona, very much into his real life character.
Yeah, I'd say I also agree with you about the casting. I liked both of them, but I mean the person I referenced earlier didn't like Ben Affleck. I feel like there are people that maybe because they're not a fan of Ben Affleck in real life, but I feel like there are people that weren't a fan of that casting. But I think he did great. It's just like kind of like this awkward guy that didn't really know what to do in this situation, and but he was kind of like reserved and aloof, and just because of that people were like assuming all these things about him.
Well,
I think
like
he does that great.
Well, I think he likes that kind of like bit of a showman. I feel like that the character has that kind of charisma to be a bit of a subtle showman, but doesn't quite know how to handle it quite right. Like if that makes sense. Because I feel like
Yeah, he's
because I feel like he's very like I think it's the missteps that are just like it's kind of what screws him up because I feel like it's very much like Ben Affleck. Like he can do the spotlight, but he has so many missteps in it.
yeah, he's the kind of
Mhm.
guy who'd give a smile at a press conference for his wife's missing case.
Yeah. Oh, so fun trivia. Again, this is why you have to listen to director audio commentary. So if you listen to the behind the scenes of one of the shots in one of the scenes in Gone Girl, Ben Affleck shut down production for 4 days because he wouldn't wear a Yankees cap.
I do remember that
That's
story.
that's that's childish right there. Like
Absolutely.
like that because you're okay, I think like an average Hollywood production day is probably like in the six figures. So you're talking about one like minimum 100 grand, maybe 250,000 like a day. So the fact that like, you know, you wouldn't wear a stupid hat, you cost the production like, you know, anywhere from you know, 400 to $800,000, maybe up to a million.
Yeah.
I don't think it was up to a million, but it's the fact that like you're you're easily responsible for like shutting down a production that costs like in the six figures because you wouldn't wear a hat.
Yeah. I agree with that. It's kind of a crazy story. I wonder if Fincher, I mean, I think Fincher got a little kick out of it,
I
just a
mean,
little sly.
he was pissed. Like Fincher was pissed.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder like I always wonder like if there's like more to the story that we don't know. Like what if Ben Affleck's like public persona kind of played into it? Like, and people look, Ben Affleck's a brand at this point. People depend on him, his brand, just as much as people on a film set depend on, working. I wonder if like stuff like that came into it where like, hey, he's got to uphold this brand image.
Uphold
That
being a Boston Red Sox fan.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, when you think of Ben Affleck, Casey Affleck, that's what
That
you
Matt,
think of.
yeah, like yeah, the Afflecks, Matt Damon, like the whole Mark Wahlberg, the whole Boston crowd.
Imagine the people in Boston seeing Ben Affleck wear a Yankees cap. Next time they won't buy his perfume or whatever product he I don't think he does perfume, but whatever shit he comes up with.
I don't know if he's got a product line like that, but like, by all means, power to him, dude. He's got FU money at this point. So like, if he can shut down production for 4 days, like I'm sure you can do whatever you want. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it also goes back to the ego of the actor.
all right. So I kind of want to go into Mindhunter for a moment. So I know you've only seen the first few episodes, but I remember like I watched the first season, and I think like around that time, like you were kind of like not quite in it, and I think maybe it was because the very first scene of the show. Like, do you remember what the first scene of the show was?
I don't think so.
So the lead guy Holden, Jonathan Groff, the lead character. He's trying to talk. He's like being a negotiator, he's trying to talk down this guy from killing someone. Like he's acting as like a negotiator. Do you think you remember? Like it may have been a while since you've seen it.
It's been a while. Where were they?
They were just outside, maybe like this. I don't think it was a warehouse or like some sort of garage or something like that. But like,
I can't remember.
Yeah, but I'll just go into it for a sec. But like, I really kind of appreciated it in the sense that what the scene was essentially like Holden, like the lead character, he's trying to like talk down this guy from like killing hostages, and you could tell that this actor is kind of giving this really weird, like slightly presentational, but like doesn't really believe his lines that he's saying. It just seems very fake. It was just like I was very like odd struck when I watched it for the first time, because I'm like, what? Like this guy's performance is just weird. Like I didn't really get it. But then like once you kind of see the show going on, and then I am going back to that scene, you're just like, oh, okay, this clicks now. He doesn't want to. The show is about like trying to create policies and procedures like of how to handle like killers or like potential killers. And he was just kind of spewing out the modern BS of how to handle these situations from like these kind of like sort of outdated methods. And like the whole show is him trying to provide some sort of updated and like sort of guide by doing these interviews. So like he just wasn't believing the procedures that he was like, spewing out. And ultimately it didn't work out. It was inefficient, and like somebody ended up getting killed because of it. And then like it was like a murder suicide. So if you go back to that first scene, it's super interesting because it was a performance that I found strange the first time, but watching it a second time after going back to that show, I was just like, no, okay, now it makes sense.
That's super interesting. Now you're gonna make me really have to get into Mindhunter again.
It's a good show.
What a way to like. You said that was like the first scene of the show, basically.
It's the first scene of the show.
What a way to open up that show. Like something that people like you might take as like a weird performance is something down the line that pays off as something. Oh, now I get it.
Yeah, so it's just
pretty cool.
So like it's one of those things that like like it's so good. And also like one of my favorite montages ever is also in the second episode of the first season.
I remember that one because I know you talked about it.
Yeah, I love that montage. Like I always laugh in it. But
how many seasons are there again?
2 seasons.
Shoot, I can watch 2 seasons.
Yeah, and it's a good show. Like I would just say like like, and again, it's kind of like I feel like honestly Fincher is the master of dialogue scenes. Like while he doesn't write dialogue, he's the master of directing dialogue.
Mm,
Like hit like
I'd agree with that.
like while his scenes like like I feel like he's gotten out of like the sort of Fight Club like sort of like that sort of phase where he was just kind of like doing all like these sort of like subtle violence, very masculine movies. I feel like he's kind of just been dipping, like he still has his dark phase, but he's very more interested in the conversations and the dialogue and the performances. He's less about like action.
Oh shoot,
Mhm.
you're really making me have to pick this up.
Mhm. Like
Gosh,
because that's the whole show. It's just them interviewing serial killers. It's just all conversations. It's all dialogue.
isn't like a main thrust of the show that that Stu gets a little bit like starts to be, you know, he like he needs to get into the head, right? So he need his head, you know, he starts to like become like them a bit.
It becomes a bit of a psychological thriller, but like one of the themes of the show is empathy. So so in order to connect with somebody, we need empathy. And for him to be able to connect with killers, he needs to have empathy with them to be able to connect. But the irony is that these killers, they're antisocial. They don't have that. They lack that. So that's the irony that they have, where like we're trying to be more like them by showing empathy, but they don't have that. So it's kind of like this weird internal conflict that we're having. And it's again a social commentary. It's a social
That
commentary on how we were obsessed with serial killers.
well, to be honest, that sounds pretty timely for other stuff too, like empathizing with a group that doesn't want to be empathized with,
Mm-hmm.
or you know, and that gosh dang it, you sell this show really well. I think he should hire you.
Studios hire me. Like, I mean, I'm not in the US right now, but like, I'm committed. I'm there.
Hey, Cambodians will watch that, of
Yeah, yeah,
course.
yeah.
I don't even, is it on Cambodia Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Yes. So I
Nice.
watched it while I was here.
Okay. Well, yeah, dude, you should well, I don't know. Just send an email. Hey, I'll be your Cambodian branch of marketing. Just I'll open the David Fincher Hunter awareness branch.
I'll just hold like seven picket signs, just being like, each one is.
What is with this guy on the side of the street and his obsession with David Fincher?
All
Oh,
right.
there's a David Fincher guy again.
Yeah. So probably the film we probably talked about the least now is probably The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Have you seen that?
I have it's been a while since I've seen that one as well, but I remember liking it just like all the other ones. And
Mhm.
freaking Rooney Mara, what a way to delve into a role, right?
Like I was well, do you know that film was supposed to be a trilogy? It was supposed to be
Yeah,
and
he's
that's
the book star, right?
yeah, it was supposed to be a trilogy of films, but it was just one of those movies that just like it was critically acclaimed. It did fairly well at the box office, but it just didn't do too well enough to warrant like the continuation. It was just shy
Well,
of it.
well, didn't they make like at least a sequel just with a completely different production?
So it's weird. Like they did like a later book in the series, but it's kind of like it's kind of like its own like little like I guess like reboot sort of spinoff, like not spinoff, but like I guess like separated like sort of film. Like it's
Hmm.
not really connected to I I don't know how to really think about it because I haven't seen it, but I think like the backstory of it would still be the same, but I think it's just a later film story, but it's just like it's not really connected to that film.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I think. That's what I
But
got the impression of as well.
but it's Claire Foy, right? Claire Foy is the actress the who played the lead. I'm blanking on her name. Like the character.
In this other separate one?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
can
but
look it up.
yeah, I think it was her, and I don't remember the director's name, but I think he did a film called Don't Breathe. And that film felt very much like a Fincher film too. It felt very much like Panic Room, if you ever have like kind of like this blend between Panic Room and Wait Until Dark, if you ever seen that. Like it's very much like those two movies.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Yeah, is the other one Spider's Web? Yeah,
I
Claire
guess yeah,
Foy.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's it. But yeah, I don't remember what the other two films in the series were, but I really appreciated that film in terms of like, I guess in terms of ambition, because I think people like, I do remember watching like a video analysis between the Swedish version and the Fincher version. And while
Mhm.
like, the Fincher version has a significantly higher budget, I just feel like that version just has a ton, like just so much tension drawn throughout. And I like that it's a 5-act structure film. It's not like a typical 3-act structure. I feel like 5-act films are just a little bit more difficult to see, at least in terms of like, like in the hot in like $100 million range. I think they're a little less
Yeah,
common.
yeah. It's I don't know. From I feel like the thing I remember the most about it was just the performances, like with
Mhm.
Daniel Craig, Rooney Mara, and then shoot, who's the guy at the end?
Stellan Skarsgård. Wait,
Yeah,
is it Stellan Skarsgård?
it
It is
is.
a it is
Yeah,
a Scar
I
it
did
is a
confuse.
Skarsgård. It's something like that.
Yep,
I
it's
just
Stellan.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Also,
just
Christopher
yeah,
Plummer in that film for a little bit too.
yeah, yeah. I'm seeing that now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's back to what you're saying though. I don't know. I guess obviously it's more than just dialogue, but like, I mean, you remember these, these characters so well. I think it's a testament to how he directs dialogue, like you mentioned.
Mhm.
And I think he's really good at getting the best out of actors.
Mhm. I also think
He
like,
he
oh, sorry, go
he
ahead.
pounds it into him by doing 60 takes.
What is it? I also think that in that film, I think that like that performance by Daniel Craig in combination with Logan Lucky is how like he ended up going to Knives Out. It feels very much like those two characters combined is like the Knives Out character.
What what a what a what a stringing together. I love that. I'm all in on that.
Well, I mean, because it's very much like his mannerisms in Logan Lucky, but in the detective genre that's like taken seriously in the Girl with Dragon Tattoo. Like it just I felt like it was just
Yeah,
the kind of perfect blend.
take a serious detective and a goofy crazy dude and you get the Knives Out guy. Speaking of, they've got Knives Out 2 coming out and apparently they've got freaking everyone in Hollywood in that movie. Looking
Mm-hmm.
forward to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gotta get Fincher to direct it, man. Screw Ryan Johnson.
Yeah. That would be quite a movie if Fincher directed it.
Ah,
Jeez.
mhm.
Dang.
Now,
Well, this conversation is like it gets me really motivated to watch Fincher, finish
yeah,
my filmography with
yeah,
him.
you'll get there. I don't think I'm ever gonna watch Alien 3 unless like I feel like I really want to complete the series because I've never seen Alien 3 or 4. But like I do have Fincher on a pedestal sort of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just I feel like I feel like the same way with Alien. I also put that series on a bit of a pedestal too because I really do like the first two. I just haven't bothered to watch the other two.
Mhm.
But I think maybe if I ever want to complete it, I can. But I've seen pretty much all of Fincher. I've seen most of his music videos, commercials, well, like and then and of course all his films and television stuff.
Yeah. I think I'd say I'm with you there.
Hmm.
Alien 3 is not on my list right now.
Hmm.
No offense to Alien 3 and David Fincher and everything.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Fincher would be offended. He's just like, good, don't fucking watch it. Oh, but
He'd
also
be
this,
very upfront about it.
yeah. I also just remembered this. So I remember watching an interview with I think it was Ed Norton and Mark Ruffalo, and they were talking about their time working with Fincher. And apparently, like this was back in '07. Mark Ruffalo was friends with Norton and sent him a message saying that like he was doing a scene on Zodiac, and he said, "We just got to take 80, and I just heard Fincher say, really delete the first 35." And apparently, like, and Mark Ruffalo is explaining this just like this is like it was an insane take because it was like a 7-page like single and a walk and talk. So like this was not an easy scene to film, but it's just the fact that like the thing that Fincher was really looking for, like throughout each scene, it wasn't necessarily Ruffalo's performance. He was just honestly just moving extras, just like a few steps over, just being like, okay, this is better now. Keep going.
I think he has a little bit of OCD in him.
Yeah, but I feel like I've always got to go back to it. So Zodiac, this is why I'm so obsessed with the film. So I feel like I keep overstepping you with this, but there's just so many great facts in Zodiac. So whenever they were writing the script for it, that well, like even with like trying to bring it like to adapt it to screen, if you ever noticed, like since the killer is unknown, each kill that they have in the movie is like performed by a different actor, or like even with like the phone recording saying like I left it's none of it the same actor. They always made it different actors just to kind of add the ambiguity that like we don't really have a sole idea who this is, but like it's just like how it is like, but it just like kind of adds like more to the authenticity of like what really happened. But another thing that I found interesting is that do you remember the screen or any like the movie off the top of your head really well?
Probably not.
Okay, well, do you remember the lake where the couple was killed? Well,
I do remember that one. Yeah.
Okay, well, that was Lake Berryessa, I believe. And then like you had the Zodiac and the cape and like the weird like black like bass cape, whatever it is. And right. And they shot that by a tree. I'm sure you can remember that scene, right? There was like a tree right there where he was hiding behind and then came up to the couple. Okay, well, apparently in real life, they went to that set, like they went there to go shoot on location. Well, apparently the tree where the couple were killed or like assault, whatever, that tree was actually chopped down. So like they had a tough time trying to locate where this tree was. But Fincher, being so well researched in the case files, he actually was able to locate where it was, like because they couldn't locate the location. So, but considering he was so well versed in the case file, he's saying like, "Oh, it's right over there." Like so, and that's the amazing thing about that film because because they meticulously like during the screenplay like would interview like witnesses like survivors of the Zodiac or whoever they can or like officers, detectives that were working the case. The amount of research was just like, okay, we're going to try to make this as realistic as possible. But if there's ever a question we don't know, we're just going to go to the case files. Like, and that's a big reason why like some of these scenes were just like, we know there was a silencer, but like it was kind of like this makeshift silencer. So like, we're just kind of buying into what Mike Mageau said, the first killer in during the 4th of July. But there was always this kind of like idea that like if we don't know what really happened according to witnesses, we're just going to go to the evidence. We're going to the case files. So it's very much like a detective. He does have that very like analytical, methodical detectiveness, and I feel like that's why he's attracted to that genre.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I totally. He's very methodical. And he likes to sequence things out and approach things in a very analytical way. Wasn't he like before he got into film, wasn't he like some business guy?
The only thing I remember him really was just before he was directing commercials and music videos is that he worked for ILM and Post. That's really all I know.
So maybe he's always been in the filmmaking world.
Did you ever hear that? So this is also another thing about Fincher that makes me laugh. So did you ever hear that Robert Downey Jr. and Zodiac would piss in jars like during the set, like on set, because Fincher wouldn't let him use the bathroom?
I haven't heard that.
Dude, you can look it up, dude. It's just a funny little behind the scenes story. But honestly, this is before Iron Man 2, and Downey Jr. gave a stellar performance. Like I thought it was like, because here's the thing, like 07 to 08 Downey was like on point. Like he like 3 hits in a row. Like it was Zodiac, Iron Man, and then Tropic Thunder. I feel like his Tropic Thunder is such a good movie. Like it's a really good movie.
Yeah. Yeah. What an actor. What a turnaround.
Just like I don't think he'd go blackface again, but like, but I'm sure he had a great time with it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I want to see him in other things besides Iron Man now. Like let's get back to some varied roles,
If you do, check out some of his earlier stuff. Check out like Less Than Zero. Like it's very much him in real life, like kind of like being like what he was, and like during that time being very much like into drugs. Like it's basically him playing a drug addict. Chaplin was also really good. So if you ever have the opportunity to check, but you check out Chaplin for the performance, not necessarily. It's a so-so movie, but like Chaplin was a really good movie. Sorry, a really good performance. Sorry.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll do.
Mm-hmm. No, but so I'm curious. Did you ever hear that Fincher might be directing a sequel to World War Z?
Yeah, I've heard that, but hasn't that been like? There's been rumors about that for years now, right? Like, is it ever going to happen?
I don't know, and I feel like too much time has really passed. And honestly, given the state of the world now, I don't feel like a post-apocalyptic film would be very welcomed.
Yeah, people don't have the appetite for it.
But honestly, I think when I heard about that, like I was really disappointed because I just didn't want Fincher to direct a big blockbuster film like that, like, or at least in that genre.
Yeah. Well, I remember like I mean, it seems to be a theme, but like I remember I've watched World War Z, but there's only a few things that I can remember from the movie. But overall, I remember thinking it was like a good movie. Like for a blockbuster, I thought it was good. So it was like it'd be interesting to see David Fincher do it. Even if he doesn't like, he strays away from big blockbuster things. It'd be interesting to see him like, take the next step in that story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess I again, but like I just feel like the speciality that I like is him doing like really grounded dramas or like psychological thrillers, and I just feel like that's very much like this kind of like sort of. It's not necessarily, I would say, sci-fi necessarily, but I just feel like that kind of film is just kind of like supposed to be like this, like it's supposed to be a bit of an epic, and I just don't see Fincher in that sort of like going in that area, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but imagine Fincher directing a zombie epic. Like, come on.
I don't know. I would be a little disappointed. And did you ever hear that he was like having talks with Kathleen Kennedy about directing Star Wars? Like
I didn't know that, but I feel like I'd have the same reaction you're having about World War Z.
Yeah, like I would like, again, I would be disappointed. Like again, like we're talking about one of the greatest directors, but to kind of do like those films, I'm like, just it doesn't appeal to me that like to want to see a movie done by, like I'll see it because it's him, but I'm just not excited about it.
Yeah, but like I feel like Star Wars and World War Z, I feel like they're on different levels still. Mm-hmm. Like Star Wars is Star Wars. So like, I mean, I feel like World War Z, like I think there's a range of budget. Like there's a possibility that he'd go for like a smaller budget sequel for World War Z, and he'd be able to, especially since it's been so long and and all that. And it's not like it's Star Wars where there's half the world is waiting for a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
I feel like he could get away with a smaller budget, but with relatively smaller budget. But with Star Wars, you can't do that, and you have the weight of the world on you, and that's where I'd get into like your reaction is like, all right, a little bit nervous about it. But then, well, on the other side, like Rian Johnson directing the middle of the sequels, like I don't know, that's a director who's pretty on his craft, directing, taking on this responsibility. And personally, I think he did well with it. So like, I don't know, I feel like there's a little bit of a presence there with Rian Johnson doing that.
Yeah. And I would say, like, thinking about it, I would like to see Fincher tackle the sci-fi genre, because it would kind of be like maybe a bit of a redemption for Alien 3, because he hasn't tackled sci-fi since. So I think I'm not against him going into sci-fi. I think it's just him kind of picking the right film, because I don't want him to go into a franchise. And I also don't, and I just feel like, I don't know, I don't feel like zombie is the right film, like the right sort of genre for him.
Gotcha.
Like,
yeah. It could be that could be in his mind as like a way to bookend his career. He starts with a sci-fi, ends with a sci-fi. But yeah, and if he does that, it'll probably be well chosen. Well, you'd hope so.
Yeah, it's just I want an original film by him, like an original, like original screenplay, original, like just no like, I just don't want a preceding like property, I think is the idea.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't have anything. Yeah, I think that'd be interesting to see. Even despite me being down with seeing World War Z 2 by David Fincher. Yeah.
All right, so I think we'll probably cut it here. We've been talking for about an hour and a half now, but like, but seriously, dude, thanks for doing this. I know like it's been a long chat and all that.
Yeah, that's go ahead.
No, that I wasn't really gonna say much.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad we did it. I think now I'm gonna have to go watch Fincher. I think I don't know what. Yeah, this definitely got me excited about watching the movies. So yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. I'm glad. Like, yeah, I think we both have a lot of thoughts about David Fincher. So I'm glad we were able to air him out.
Yeah. And I'm trying to do this like, again, like you see, like just once a week. So like shoot me some ideas for topics, and I'll do my best for like to try to watch everything. But yeah, just send them my way, and like we'll try to do this again maybe next month.
Yeah, I'd be down to do Kaufman too. Like, and we can catch up on the movies.
Gotcha, dude. Yeah.
But
all right, man. Well, thanks for the chat, dude. Have a good day. I gotta try to get some shut eye before I gotta go to work in the morning, which is like, which is 10 steps from my bed. So still in that, like, the COVID world.
The COVID world. Let's pray for an end pray for an end.
This is what Fincher should be doing, a sci-fi COVID world.
Yeah, geez, he'd have fun with that. Oh my goodness.
All right.
Yeah. Well, have a good night, and yeah, looking forward to doing this again.
Yeah, sounds good, dude. All right, man. Be safe.
All right. See you, Joey.
See you.